I enjoy looking around this office
All
and
right.
finding weapons everywhere.
I think we are live, folks. So
Great.
let's go ahead and begin this discussion here on the sword. Um,
Great.
as you can see, I got a wonderful panel here of some gentlemen who love swords and martial arts. So we are going to have a discussion here for roughly 45 minutes to an hour. So buckle yourself in, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So if we could, it'd be fantastic if we could. We're waiting on one other person from France, Fabrice Cognot. So if he does arrive, you won't be surprised by the strange Frenchman that just pops up all of a sudden. Don't be alarmed. He is a friendly person. So with that said, let's just begin with the people that are here, because as you can see, we have a nice set of gentlemen here. So why don't we just start left to right with Andrew, and just go down the line. Let me know your name, kind of the school that you study with, and what kind of brought you here to begin with. So we'll start with Andrew. And oh, there's somebody's phone.
Office phone, go away.
Technical difficulties. I apologize for us starting a bit late too, but hopefully we'll get the kinks worked out and get rolling here. So yes. So Andrew, take it away, my friend, and we'll start there. Yeah, left to right.
Hi. Yeah, my name's Andrew. I'm from St. Louis. You may remember me from the previous show. I was there as well. I've been doing this about 5 years or so. I'm in the Association for Renaissance Martial Arts. And I guess next we have Julian.
Hi, I'm Julian. I'm based in Vancouver, Canada, Canuck around, and I study in HEMA. So what we do is we basically combine old manuals with modern sports sciences, and we go to competitions over the world.
And I just wanted to mention that Julian has a great story he's going to be sharing with us today about how he was inspired by Reclaiming the Blade. And you can also see that story in his video contest entry. We'll talk more about that video contest in a minute.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah, very good. And Marcus.
Yes, Marcus Hampel from Hamburg, Germany. Yeah, into swords fighting since 2003, and I'm the saber training at Hammerborg in Hamburg.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Well, I've got a lot of questions I want to ask you guys, and Andrew is going to be kind of guest hosting here, as I was a bit late, so he's got the same notes that I have. But let's begin with what Andrew said and talk about Julian's experience of coming to sword martial arts, because I had just seen his entry for the contest, and I got to tell you a funny little story. Julian, it's ironic that you are inspiring me to get back into the sword myself, so it's all coming around full circle. But I think somebody asked me recently if I practiced much. Primarily I am a filmmaker, but I said, I think on the last Sword Talk, that I was, if I had more time, I'd like to practice more. But it's just hard to find time, isn't it? But that's really no excuse. And ultimately, watching your video entry, which I think is a strong contender, I was just really impressed. I wish we could play it right now, but we'll definitely, post a link or something, or tell people exactly where it is, because it's just fantastic. Really, inspired me to actually, pick up the sword again. And there are groups everywhere. So there are groups right around me too, and Arma's headquarters is just an hour and a half from where I am at the moment. But yeah, looking to plug back into a group, so maybe you guys will see me out there. But yeah, Julian, maybe you could just tell us about that experience live here on Google+.
Yeah, basically what ended up happening is that I was your typical fat World of Warcraft nerd. I was about 340 pounds. I stopped really caring at that point. What ended up happening is that I always had a little fascination with the swords. I remember when I was a kid, at the birthday parties, we'd all have sticks. We were the mighty warriors. We had the good side, we had the bad side, and what ended up happening is that nostalgia happened. So I stumbled upon, a movie Reclaiming the Blade, and I didn't know people actually still did this kind of stuff. I knew modern fencing, like the Olympic fencing and all that, but videos show that there was like tons of different groups. So I ended up trying to Google if there was one around my area. Stumbled a place called Blood and Iron Martial Arts, and what ended up happening is that it had a huge focus on fitness. The thing with me is I get bored and I have a very low attention span. So the gym thing I did for about a month and I got bored really badly. The running, it's also boring, and the commitment to just go outside every time. No, but one of the big attractions of the sword fighting is that it's sword fighting. There's a thing to that, so I decided to try it out. After the intro lesson, I basically realized this is one of the greatest things I've ever done, and I wanted to do more. So I signed up for a month. That month turned into a year. That year turned into 2 years. I've been doing this shade over 2 years now. I'm about 230 pounds now. I do one-armed push-ups. I used to be able to do one-armed clapping push-ups. I've gotten a little bit lazy, but I'll get back to that.
That's
and
impressive.
I go around the world. I'm going to Holland this year for a competition at AMEC, and I'm also going down to Pacific Northwest, which is in the Seattle area, in August. So just that kind of jump in elevation of where it used to be to where I am now, it's just words don't really describe how much that's actually changed.
Yeah, that's great. And everybody has a similar experience of hopping on the internet and realizing, wow, there's like a whole army of people online and groups that are practicing the martial arts. So I was impressed too to see how many people. It's one of the great things about the internet, is that we can all interconnect.
Yeah.
Much like we're doing right now.
Technology. Yeah, one of the things I stumbled upon was HEMA Alliance. It's basically HEMA being historical European martial arts. It's its own little circle in sword fighting, and there's just a huge collective of people all around the world. It just blew my mind that so many people are actually this invested in something.
Yeah.
And I realized it's just something worth being part of anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So okay, I'll do that. Sword fighting is always good.
And as Andrew was saying, I mean, you can go over to reclaimingtheblade.com. The deadline is what, Andrew, the 31st?
Yeah, it has been extended to the 31st. It was scheduled for yesterday, but they have extended it. So get your entries in. There's a lot of cool prizes, and look forward to hearing from you, hearing your story.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really great story. I mean, I would encourage you to go check it out because you can meet Julian's lovely girlfriend. It's just a really nice personal story. He put some photos in there. Before and after. I mean, it's really, really good. So I would highly encourage everybody to hear his story. We can't really do it justice. He did a great job doing that, and it's just exciting to hear everybody's individual story. So yeah, check that out. And then, by the way, August 3rd is actually shortly after the deadline. We are having Reclaiming the Blade Day, which is going to be an online convention where, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin. There's going to be a lot of amazing guests that we're inviting to that event. I'll see if I can't get with Carolina real quick and get the latest list of people that will be there. But there's going to be some stunt trainers and some academic folks, really the best of the best. It's going to be a really fun day. That's August 3rd. And please head over to our Kickstarter because we are promoting that wide and far because we need help right now to finish Reclaiming the Blade Sons of Fire. So go to the Kickstarter page, and you can find that just by Googling Kickstarter Reclaiming the Blade. It should come right up. Or just go to reclaimingtheblade.com. So Marcus, thanks for joining us from Germany. This international movement of the sword is fantastic. Could we hear a little bit about your story, how you got started?
Oh, yeah, of course. I started way back in 2003, so now it's my 10th anniversary, end of this year. And what I really liked about the community was immediately this nice atmosphere, this nice international atmosphere. So my first event was only 4 years later. It took some time somehow. That was Vienna Drying Event, and it was really amazing to find out that regardless from which country people are, they somehow do all the same. Yeah, that's just a simple fact. It's sources we're training from. And yes, as we said just before the official broadcast started, it is really this atmosphere about, hey, you train the same weapon as I do, let's beat us on the head. So it's so nice that you immediately can come to a level of training, of exchange on techniques, and yes, of course, free fight sparring. And that's, as far as I have seen, everywhere the same. France, Sweden, I've been just a few days to the Netherlands, and everywhere the same friendly atmosphere. And that's one component that made me really stick with HEMA. It's not one of these hobbies that just go by the summer.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent.
And what was really nice back then, I think that this changes a little bit currently, but back then it was that nearly every week a new source popped up and people started interpretation. So it was, even for a beginner like I was in 2003, I remember my first reconstruction was on Meyer's stuff and pole weapons, together with my friend Stefan Dieke. I was just a beginner, and he said, yes, come over to my place, we're going to start some reconstruction. And that really kicked in, because if you see that it's not something made up, that is really a couple of 100 years ago was in existence, and you can now try to reassemble those bits and pieces together to a martial art and function again. This is really great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm constantly amazed at how many sources just keep popping up, and how many sources we already have. It's such a well-documented art.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Have you met any of the actual translators since Marcus, since you're there in Europe? I know some of the guys that have been publishing books and translations from the German manuals in other languages are obviously alive and working today even. So.
Oh yes, one I like especially to mention is Falco Fritz. My colleague at Hammerborg. He's responsible for the Messer, and he just did some good work on Messer manuals, and did some translation there. So yeah, if you check out our website www.hammerborg.de, you will find there some stuff he prepared for you.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Andrew, spin it back over to you real quick. I mean, we met you last time on the first Sword Talk that we had, and we really didn't get to hear. We had a lot of people on that one. It was so much fun, and I would encourage people. There's probably a link for it somewhere on reclaimingtheblade.com. But that was a fantastic discussion that we had earlier in the week. But Andrew, could you maybe tell us more about yourself? And I thought you were definitely somebody that was very interesting from that discussion, and wanted to learn more about, I don't know, how you fell into this, and maybe you could talk about, we talked about the academic side before, but maybe tell us about some of the travels that you've done even with this martial art.
Sure, yeah. I haven't traveled much out of the country for this stuff. I've got a family, got kids and stuff, so it's kind of hard to be too mobile, but I do try to get around. It's kind of neat. Every couple of years I'll do this big road trip, and I live on one side of the United States, and my parents live on another side. And so I'll go visit my parents, and along the way there's all these groups that practice what we practice, and so I'll just meet up with them and do some sparring. There's just armor groups popping up everywhere, and it's really neat to just be able to connect with people just everywhere. Like Mark was saying, the sword it just brings people together. It's kind of neat that it's designed to. It's designed for violence and to, for opposing people, but what it actually does when you pick it up and you practice it and you become part of this community, and it really does bring people together. So yeah, also let's see here. So yeah, I'm in St. Louis here, and you know, we got a pretty small group over here right now. I'm recovering from some knee surgery and a broken finger, but
What
how
happened?
does the ranking work, and what is your rank right now? Is everybody what organization is everybody affiliated with? I think Andrew, you're affiliated with ARMA.
That's correct. Yeah.
And then Julian, you're working with the HEMA group.
Like the school or the overall grand scheme of things?
Both. Yeah, I guess both.
My school is Blood and Iron, and we are part of the HEMA Alliance. I have a patch right here about that.
Awesome.
And our head instructor is actually the curriculum council director of the whole thing of HEMA Alliance.
Looks like you guys have a great studio there, and we get to see that in that video that you shot.
Oh yeah, no, we do. We have a couple amazing artists that managed to take some of the woodcuts of Meyer, and we have that as giant murals in our background.
Wow, that's fantastic.
There's pictures of that on our website actually, or our Facebook page.
Marcus, have you had a chance to visit the United States and connect with some of the Sword brothers here in America?
Not yet. I was not in the States yet. I don't want to spoil any plans for next year, but maybe I come over.
Yeah, that would be great, I'm sure. And what organization do you primarily study with?
My main club is Hammerborg, and somehow the organization here in Europe is HEMAC, the Historical European Martial Arts Coalition.
I see. And what are some of the goals of your organization now this year?
Of our goals.
Yes. Do you guys have any broad goals or long-term goals? Maybe to translate some texts or to grow, to grow your ranks, or what's kind of like the main focus right now for you guys?
We are currently working on different things. So I would just talk about my part, what I'm doing, what I'm responsible for. This is graduation. Most things are going into this direction, and not only graduation, but setting up a system for delivering proper sword training with a certain quality. So that's what I'm currently doing most work on.
Excellent. And you guys have a way of evaluating students and maybe progressing them through the ranks, or qualifying them as a certain rank?
Exactly, that's the idea. I'm just very lucky because my SUAS has already a graduation system in it that was established 1838. So I'm quite lucky. I just follow those. But yes, it's exactly the idea to encourage people, so you can have also some sort of what's the word? You can really tell people in a half a year you're at this rank, you can achieve this, and it needs something like between 2 and 3 years that you can actually do that. So there's an idea for people what they can achieve in what time. That's the goal.
And where do you see historical European martial arts in say 50 years? I mean, what would you love to see? Maybe in less time than that. Maybe in a decade or more. In a decade,
I think we will become more specialized in weapons. So people will more focus on a single weapon. I did this just for my own. I just do the saber. I really like the other weapons, but I have to concentrate. Yeah. And I think this will be a trend for HEMA. It started with specialized events like International Saber Symposium, event I host in Hamburg. And it's just about saber. And suddenly you find out that there's so much in one weapon that you can fill a complete weekend. And so this will be a trend. I hope this will become a friendly trend, like saying, okay, I study mainly saber, and let's meet for socializing still, like the longsword guys and all one join. I hope that this will be possible. And then what I also see is that we will become a more organized structure. Like societies in every country, governing bodies over that and over that. So maybe we will have one time a World Federation system when we talk about the 50 years.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, you hit on something there. I'd like to ask everybody. Maybe start with Julian. What is the, I guess, either your favorite sword? Because there are so many. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the work of Oakeshott, Ewart Oakeshott, who classified the sword types. People should know that there are many, many different types of blades.
Yeah.
That have existed throughout the history of time. So, going back all the way to the Greek and Roman period, on up through to I guess the 1800s, the sword sabers, I guess, that were used by cavalry. But there's just so many different types of swords. Julian, like what do you like to study most, and what maybe just elaborate any way that you'd like on that. Maybe your favorite type of sword.
My favorite sword to fight with is the longsword. It just combines beautiful fidelity in the sense that it's really fine play, but at the same time it's completely brutal. That's one of my favorites to spar with. But in terms of actually learning, I really enjoy learning some sword and buckler. It's fairly new to me. I just started learning that one a little bit, and just whenever I get to play with that, it's quite a bit of joy. But I mean, I just enjoy a lot of weaponry in general. Longsword's my favorite, but I also greatly enjoy rapier and dagger. That was my first love, but longsword kind of took that one over. I greatly enjoy the German Messer. I enjoy saber. I enjoy single stick. Just about anything, really. Put a weapon in my hands, I have a good time.
Yeah, I like the long sword as well, particularly as it is two-handed. Or even the hand-and-a-half swords, which I guess you guys are familiar with, that probably goes back to my love of Star Wars, because obviously the lightsaber is a double-handed weapon. But in any case, so Andrew, same question.
Well, I do spend the most amount of time with this longsword.
That's a beautiful sword, by the way. Very attractive.
This is one of those Albion Lichtenauers.
Wow.
And Peter Johnson, he does a great job with these things. He studies, goes around the world, and looks at all the different artifacts and pieces, and takes careful measurements, and I just can't say enough about his work. He does great stuff. But,
we're hoping that Peter will join us actually for Reclaiming the Blade Day, and just let me interject or interrupt real quick and just say Dave Delagardelle. I don't know if you guys have seen his work. Cedar Lower Forge, I think, is his website. Dave Delagardelle. His weapons are just beautiful. Does a lot of Viking swords, which I've been getting into more and more. Those are just beautiful. And then Peter Johnson, as you say, Omar Rodriguez. Fabrice Cagnot. Andrew, I hope you can join us on Reclaiming the Blade Day, and others here too, so that would be great. But yeah, Andrew, continue there with the swords.
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Somebody's training with swords right now. I'm sorry, I can hear swords being trained at the moment. Who's training?
Sorry.
Oh, is it you? Are you actually
Yeah, I'm at my school. I don't have a giant painting of Joan of Arc in my room personally.
That's fantastic. No worries. That's a welcome sound.
I can yell at them to stop, but
no, it's okay.
I don't feel like interrupting them right now.
If it gets too loud, you can just mute your microphone maybe when you're not talking. Because Andrew, we want to be able to hear everything he's saying. That'd be great. So Andrew, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think I'm most excited right now about the German Messer. I love handling, especially the Albion Marksbruder model. It's their training Messer, and it just feels so light and lively in the hand. And once my knee heals up, I really want to get into that, because you have to be so light on your feet, and it requires a lot of agility and springing. You know, so I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Can you tell us a little bit about what type of sword that is for the layman? Because I'm trying to picture what type of sword that is.
Yeah, a German Messer. It's like it's a falchion basically. It's a one-handed single-edged blade. And
Okay.
it's got a clipped edge on the end of it. So this back edge will be blunt, but there'll be like a clipped edge here that'll be sharp, and then of course the front. And it's fairly straight, and then it's got a little curve at the end, and it's got a noggle, which is basically you have your traditional cross, but you also have a little mini cross coming out here like that.
Okay.
Sorry, just one finger. I can't really bend this other one. But,
yeah.
I can go grab one if you guys want.
No, that'd be great. Sure.
That'd be awesome.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. So, Andrew, what period is that sword from?
The Messer?
Yes.
Let's see here. Well,
just generally speaking, I'm just.
Yeah. We certainly see it in works from the 1500s. We see it in Joachim Meyer. We see it in Paulus Hector Meyer. We see it in Lechhüfner, and so I think he's an earlier work. I'm not so great with dates myself, but maybe somebody else can also elucidate.
Yes. Well, no, that's great, and we have two things now. We have Fabrice here, who has just joined us. Hello, Dr. Fabrice. Appreciate you being with us. Can you hear us? Okay. Might have a bit of a delay there. Fabrice, can you check your speakers? Make sure that you can hear us. Can you hear us? Okay.
There's also a mute button in the.
Yeah, there's a mute button at the top. Yeah, as Andrew was saying, the top right it should be. At least it is for me. I'm on a Mac.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Good to see you again. Well, now we've lost you. Go ahead and talk.
Yeah. Well, can you hear me now? You hear me okay?
Very good. Very good. Very good. Yes, we were just talking about different swords. Welcome. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself real quick so we can catch up on who you are.
I'll try to be quick then. So yeah, my name is Fabrice Cognot. Hi, Marcus.
Hi, Fabrice.
I'm an instructor, European martial artist. I'm also a doctor in medieval archaeology, specializing on medieval weapons, actually. The way to make them, the way to use them. And I'm also a bladesmith. So it gives an interesting mix to lots. And well, thanks for letting me here.
That's fantastic, Fabrice. Yes, congratulations on the schooling there and your accreditation there. I think we could talk for hours, I'm sure. And yes, Carolina, who's helping put together, doing a lot of the behind-the-scenes work. Fabrice was in the first film, I should tell everybody. Fabrice was interviewed in the first movie, and he had a lot of great things to say. I can say that he's aged very well. He looks quite good, all considering, I think. Haven't lost any fingers or toes or anything like that, I hope. It's a dangerous business, but so I hear again from Carolina that you are actually getting into bladesmithing, and you've made your own sword now?
Yeah, I haven't made any swords yet. I've refitted a few swords. I've corrected or arranged a few swords of friends of mine. I haven't yet made a sword. I have because of basically purely material issues. But I know how to make them.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing your first sword. So I'm glad you're here with us because as I was saying, we were just talking about weapons and specific. We were talking about basically the swords that we like to practice with, and maybe what our speciality is. Could you tell us what your favorite type of sword is, or what one you feel most comfortable wielding?
Actually, I would have a hard time telling you what I prefer in terms of swords because, well, my group we play with all of them, not just swords. Basically, we do we do grappling and wrestling, we do dagger, we do longsword, we do rapier, we do saber, we do bayonet, we do everything. And there's, to my greatest shame, I must say, there is no favorite type of swords of mine. I like them all, you know, because they're all to be liked and respected, and all of them are interesting. So but yeah, I must say I tend to play more with longsword, and I do rapier just for the fun of it. But my friends keep telling me I'm a side sword man, so maybe they're right. I don't know. I like to play with them all.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I guess I'm the same. I do like the two-handed swords or the hand-and-a-half swords myself personally. Just the feel, the weight of it, the balance. Just having both arms engaged at the same time as a form of workout. I know with the wasters, the wooden wasters, it's just a good way to get that upper body. And what I like to do personally when I was practicing, and I'm going to get back into it. I think I am. But what I like to do is what fascinates me as in training is being good with my left or right hand. So I really, when I was training, I would always just do everything, you know, I did with the right that I do with the left, you know. That way I wouldn't have one big strong, you know, muscly arm, you know, and then I've got this weak arm. So as for a workout, it was nice, and mentally it was fun to just you know, try to have that exercise that is forcing me to think about my movements and you know, especially when I'm doing them in reverse when I switch to the left hand. But I find that to be fun. Maybe you guys do that as well. But I believe Julien has brought the sword from the shop because he's right there in a training center there where he lives, and this was the sword that that Andrew's actually been training with a lot and feels comfortable with. Let's see the top edge of that. Tell us a bit about it, Julien. Oh, Julien, your microphone is back muted. I'm sorry. Yeah. You're gonna want to...
All right.
There we go.
So this is actually a fader we have. Fader means a lighter version, so we use these to actually spar with. So it is blunt, obviously, but it does represent that. Where's mine? There it is. It does represent that clip point right there. And as he was talking about, there is that cross guard where it goes over the hands. This is also a Albion. This is the Albion Messer trainers.
Why is it built the way it is with the curve at the top?
Curve at the top. Basically, it helped with the thrust be perfectly blunt. You got two edges that are sharp. It goes in easier. There are other techniques that uses the actual clip point, but I don't know too much. I'm definitely more of a longsword kind of guy, so my one-hand knowledge is a little bit shorter than the others. But
well, I'm sure Fabrice could tell us something, or even Andrew. So, thoughts, guys?
Yeah, well, this is a Messer feather, basically a German. Well, German. Actually, it's not purely German because this type of weapon was widespread from Eastern to Western Europe. Actually, I studied some, not published in my thesis, unfortunately, because I didn't have room to to write about them. But this type of long knife was both a tool and a weapon. And the interesting part is the blunt back and the sharp short edge, and also the third quillion, the Rischnagel, which allows a lot of fun to have with this type of swords or big knives. And well, there is a lot to say about them. Obviously, we have fantastic teachings by German masters, but others as well, about the use of these type of weapon that date from the late 15th century. And it's part of these type of swords-like objects that existed. It's not properly a sword. You know, it's a long knife. As long as a sword, as sharp as a sword, you can use them the same way you would use a sword. Yet it's not a sword, which means if, for example, local law prevents you from having a sword, you can still have a very, very long and very, very sharp knife to play with. Yet it's not a sword, so you're safe in a way. But well, I could speak for hours about them, obviously, of course, again. But I wouldn't take too much of your time, guys. So, well,
this is great. We're gonna have more of these, and I would like to. Each time I feel like we don't have enough time, but that's okay because we will convene again and talk more. We're hoping to do some more of these. It's just been so much fun. I think the first one got a whole lot of views, so live and also they're available to be viewed again. Let me just remind everybody again about what kind of brought us together is the Middle Earth Network came to me about a month ago, and I'm involved in another movie right now called Glastonbury Isle of Light, which I'm happy to say has swords in it. It's a story about Joseph Arimathea and the Holy Grail, and sort of the beginnings of King Arthur's myths and legends and how they began around Somerset and Glastonbury. But I'm very excited to announce that we are all pretty much fully funded on the film. It's going to be a major film, about $50 million picture. Tons of famous production people involved. We're working with Weta on that film, Weta Workshop in New Zealand, and Irish-based producer Ned Dowd. He did County Monte Cristo and King Arthur and Last of the Mohicans, and just a lot of other. We have the Star Wars casting director who worked on the first, actually the episodes 1, 2, and 3. But I actually love swords in movies, and I made Reclaiming the Blade, obviously, which you guys are aware of, and we wanted to go back and do a second film. It's always been difficult for me because the time factor, it just takes a lot of people to produce a film, but getting the support from the Middle Earth Network, I said, okay, why not? Let's go ahead and do this. But it's been great to I appreciate everybody's support. It's been great. We have a Kickstarter campaign. If you go on Google and just type in Reclaiming the Blade Kickstarter, it should pop right up. Or go to reclaimingtheblade.com. You can see that we are raising our finishing funds to produce that movie, and we would definitely appreciate that. Also, don't forget Reclaiming the Blade Day. Fabrice, I think, is definitely going to be joining us then. Andrew, do you think you'll be able to join us for Reclaiming the Blade Day?
Most likely, yeah.
That'll be good. So, yeah, Fabrice was just talking about the sword that you like to train with.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your sword collection? Do you have a number of swords within your club that you can borrow and train with, or how does that work? Do you kind of have to save up to buy your own sword, or?
We do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Because I'm having microphone weapon issues as well.
Yes.
Like technology, you can trust that. Steel you can trust. No webcam, no microphone you can trust. Steel you can trust. So yeah, we have a collection of swords that belong to our group. I have my own that I lend to friends who want to borrow them for training. We're using steel feathers. I have 2 Albion Mayors, for instance, but we also use the feathers made by my friend Peter Regenier from Hungary. We also use a lot of, especially our newest members, because of budget. They use a lot of iron swords or plastic swords made by our friends from Night Shop. And we also have steel rapiers made by Darkwood Armories and others. And actually, but you just can't have enough, can you? I mean, there's not just one type of simulator to be used for training in such a weapon or in any type of weapon. You must really use them all. It helps you to triangulate the real thing, because obviously for say legal reasons you can't use a sharp, pointy sword on people. Go figure.
Well, we live in a very strange time right now. If you think about the history and the moment of time that we're in, Marcus, I mean, going over to you real quick, Marcus, this is a very unique time to be alive because we have advantages over the masters even of, say, the 15th century or 16th century masters in that we have a broader picture of the story of the blade over the centuries. What do you make of that? I mean, the fact that we can do more We have greater access. Obviously, creating a sword was a very expensive, endeavor back then. Whereas today, let's be honest, it is still expensive, but your average person can save up and get one. Ironically, maybe there's even more swords today than there were back then. I don't know. That's sort of an interesting question, but what do you think about that, Marcus? Just being able to have access to everything that we have today.
Yeah, that's a quite important thing of our reconstruction efforts. On the one hand, yes, we have so many inspiring sources. Even if you look a bit more far away, we get inspiration from the Asian martial arts. If we want to, we have inspiration from sports, from every sort of sports. I just met football trainers. I met different type of guys helping me with my art. So yes, we have perfect broad knowledge now today. Just from the point of view that we have many blades that we can have in our hands, I'm not too sure if we only have maybe the luxury blades nowadays in our museums, the best parts that were just left over. So I don't know if we have really an advantage when it comes really down to the blade. Because what was with the crappy blades? Yes, at some point they existed. People fought with them, but they were just recycled at some point, I think. And so it would be also nice to have some research on the breadth of the spectrum. How big was the spectrum from a very good blade to a very bad blade? I'm blessed. My weapon is a saber, and this is basically an industrial weapon. But for the other colleagues, it's getting harder. The more you go back.
And the other great disadvantage we have today that I've noticed with just the arts in general, whatever those arts may be, are just the distractions today that we have with television and mobile phones, and people didn't have those type of distractions. They had different distractions, but let's also remember that the sword was a practical item back then too, so it was a necessity, and so that necessity would have allowed one to, or encouraged one to spend more time with knowing their sword, as opposed to being distracted by all of the modern things today. And as we kind of explored in the first film, I think Fabrice and his group talked about, or were able to explain to us that people back then were perhaps a little hardier, a little tougher. I mean, it was different time, of course. So, these questions always come into play, though. How the differences between today and then, But Julian, what is your rank now, and what are your personal goals? We talked earlier about your wonderful video you made for our contest, which, by the way, we're still taking entries up until the 31st of this month. If anybody wants to submit a short video, and I would encourage anybody that has a video camera to tell us, what the sword has done for them. But Julian, what are your own personal goals right now as far as progressing further in the system?
My main goal right now, if anything, is just practice at tournaments. I train almost every day, actually. I train 5 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week, roughly between 2 to 5 hours. Best thing I can do right now is I'm just 20, so I'm not old enough to really do much in terms of being able to run a school or that much, so I can just train. So I'm training. I'm going. Plan to just go to tournaments all over the world. Mentioned before, I'm going to Holland, so that's my goal for now. After that, probably just the next tournament, try and do better.
That's great. That's great. Now, Andrew, have you been involved in any tournaments? Have you been able to do any of that type of stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually, because in our organization, we don't do a lot of tournaments because we try to stick with the martial aspect of the art, and we don't want to. We're still kind of reconstructing this whole thing, and we don't want to sportify it. You know, I mean that's kind of how it died out in the first place. You know, so
Yeah.
we definitely we're really making an effort to try to keep it pristine and keep focused on the art. You know, we do fight all the time. We spar a lot together. We do a lot of free play. We do prize plays. For you mentioned ranking. We have a couple of ranks in our organization. I'm a scholar adept, and it's the basic rank. We got our members, and then they graduate to scholar adept, and that's just you're qualified to represent ARMA and you're an adept, you know. But one level up from that is what we call the free scholar, and for that free scholar ranking, you need to play this prize. You need to do a prize play, and that's it's a historical phenomenon. They used to do this back in the times of the Masters and the Fechtschule, and what it is, it was a precursor to where we get prize fighting today. What would happen back then is they would have this guy who wanted to advance in his rank, or he needed to prove something or qualify in some way, so he would go to the local guild, I think, and he would register and see whether he can be approved to play his prize. And so they would get this huge event together. They would invite people to watch. You know, it'd be like this town event, and people would, other fighters, other masters would come to test this guy, to fight him, and he would just he would play. He would do all this sparring with all these people so that they could say, yeah, this guy's qualified, this guy's good. And that's what we try to do too in our prize fighting is we fight everybody there, and everybody is trying to demonstrate or to test this guy and see whether he's up to snuff. And so yeah, those are the two main ranks in our organization, and I don't remember the original question, but
no, that's good. That's good. I'm glad that you went over the ranks because maybe Fabrice, you could tell us about your studies with the history of the sword. I would like to know more about the, maybe in medieval times, what the ranking system was like, and how, we think of these ideas of chivalry and be trying to become a better person. Did that come into play with some of the sword groups back then, or is that a romanticized notion today?
Well, obviously, as you can imagine, life was more realistic and complicated back then, you know. And well, back then means nothing, you know. Medieval times, you don't have the same society, you don't have the same social phenomenon in the 15th century in England that you have in Spain in the 12th century. So it's hard to give you a realistic, blunt answer. It's a very interesting question. The way, well, the sword certainly was a mundane object, but with a meaning. The sword is very specific in terms of, well, when you compare the sword to any other weapon in medieval times or even later, say, for instance, the spear or the axe or the dagger even, they share similarities. All of them can be and were used also as fashion statements, for instance. But the sword itself, it still had its own place, you know. Contrarily to the spear, it could be used for hunting. Well, there were hunting swords as well, but the spear is also used for killing animals. The axe is also used, not the same type of axes, obviously, but it's also used to fell wood. The sword, on the other hand, is the only tool specifically designed for fighting with, you know, only later it could become a hunting tool. And I believe that in medieval times, also in later times or in earlier times, the sword had these very specific, deep and complicated place in people's minds back then. Again, but to give you a proper answer, would need to go in detail in any specific place at a specific time. The common thing you can say about the sword is that it's always been there, and not only it's always been there, it's always been special, both as it's always been an everyday object in not every people's lives, but we have this notion that the sword was limited in medieval times to a certain social elite. Well, it wasn't, Anybody could have a sword, and actually, we have sources especially in Germany or in Northern Europe that require people to have swords in their house, at home, just in case, and people will get fined if they do not have a sword or any type of weapon. So. Of course, yes, the sword was associated with chivalry and all these high social things and also high moral things. But it's not just that; it's broader than that. I'm not saying the sword was in everybody's hands, but it was not specific. What made the sword specific was that, well, it's the sword, and you can't do without, you can't study these times and these arts and these weapons and these tools and these objects without paying attention to the symbolic and social meanings of the sword itself. So yeah. I'm sorry, I can't give you a proper answer to the question, because it's a question that leads to more questions. But that's basically what research is about, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fascinating. I've always found it interesting. I've been looking at more of the ancient swords in history, Greek and Roman times, Middle East as well, where the sword sort of came about as a practical item that a lot of farmers had. Now, it was not necessarily the type of sword we think of, during Renaissance Italy, for example, where it was a dueling weapon or something like that, but more of a practical item that would be, there's some crossover, I think, there is what I'm getting at, to maybe a practical tool that a farmer might use to get some jobs done, but also something that could be used for self-defense. Let me go ahead and just open the floor here, and instead of asking questions, and I've got tons of them, trust me, but I just want to let anybody, talk about whatever they want to talk about. Maybe you felt like there's something that we're not discussing or haven't brought up yet. Marcus, why don't we just start with you, and anything that you want to. We are running out of time, but is there anything that you want to? We're not going to cut anybody off, of course. But anything in general that you just would like to discuss?
Or maybe my final statement: why someone should really start start sword training. Mm-hmm. I think you should really start because there are so many aspects. You can come from the sporty idea, just workout training, stuff like that. You can also be a little bit more the technical guy who's just interested in all these principles that are applied there. Why do I win when I take this and that angle of my blade and stuff like that? And also it's that you really can grow your mind, that you can grow your inner strength and stuff like that. So it's a little bit like a sword way as well. So I think, yes, join your local clubs for sword training and find out what your way could be there. Is it sporty? Is it technical? Is it spiritual? So, yeah, try out your clubs, find out what's your way there.
Excellent. And I know that you and Fabrice know each other. Have you guys met and worked or studied together?
Oh, we even hugged each other.
Excellent.
No, it's Fabrice hosts an excellent event in Dijon every year, and so I was something like 2 years ago one of the trainers there, and yeah, we meet regularly in Vienna or Swordfish in Sweden and stuff like that. So big European family.
You guys are so lucky because you're right there where a lot of the history exists. So you know, Americans we tend to be a little jealous of that. But there's some great things here, of course. But a lot of the history, of course, is. But it's our history too. I mean, I'm sure everyone here has European ancestors at some point.
Yeah.
So it's everyone's history, and so Julian, anything that you want to just mention or feel like we're missing, or you know, we'll be having more of these, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that just got brought up is a lot of heritage behind it. A lot of my heritage is German, French, Hispanic, and all that. So I'm only second-generation Canadian, so
Very cool.
It's kind of interesting to make it. So this is what my ancestry did.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoy the mental aspect of sword fighting as much as it is physical. I mean, I have one arm, as you mentioned earlier, I have one arm that's more giant than the other. But it's like I very much enjoy the physical aspect, the mental aspect behind it, the cultural aspect, and it's not even a concept of the actual sword fighting, it's the community that comes with it, right? You go to your club or whatever, and you just become friends. I'm better friends with people I hit regularly, and they hit me back. I'm better friends with them than people I've known for 10 years. You know, it's just there's a certain level of connectivity you get from hitting someone right in the head repeatedly, and then getting hit back. There's just no other way that really defines that. There's nothing else that really comes close. I mean, there's other martial arts and all that, like MMA or whatever, same concept, but it's just swords.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah,
has some form of passion for swords, so you combine both, it's a perfect world. To me, anyway.
Yeah, and you get to get up and actually practice and study and train and be involved and be a player, actually, in what's happening, as opposed to, you know, maybe Final Fantasy football or just watching the Super Bowl or whatever, where it's much more passive. But you know, in this you know, I guess hobby or study, it's great that you can really get involved. I mean, look what Fabrice has done. You know, just as one example, all of you. Look what all of you have done. It's just fantastic. But you can really take it to a whole new level. And I can tell you right now that every new student that is has not even discovered the sword yet. Maybe somebody who's, you know, 13 years old and hasn't even discovered the sword yet. I know that each and every one of you will be somebody that's going to help somebody in the future. And so it's good that there are people such as yourselves that I would say are senior students, and you know, I use that term broadly, but you know, people that have already found their place and their love for it. But I think that'll be good for the upcoming generation. Once again, I just want to promote real quickly. We actually got 9 supporters on our Kickstarter campaign just recently. I think this has happened very recently, like just now. So these sword talks are excellent. If you get the $45 package during this live event or shortly thereafter, you actually get a free copy of the first film. So head on over to the Kickstarter page. You can go to reclaimingtheblade.com or just Google Reclaiming the Blade Kickstarter and it'll pop right up. And you can look at we have tons of rewards that are available to people. If they want to sign up, they can actually give a little bit and help us make the second film. And hopefully be a part of the process in what we cover and where we can explore further with Fabrice and with Andrew and Julian and Marcus. So please help us out in that endeavor. And then also, as we wrap up here with Fabrice and Andrew's final thoughts, if anybody wants to promote their club or their website, please do so, and then we'll wrap it up from there. But Andrew, anything that you wanted to talk about that maybe we missed?
I'd like to just cap off what you guys were saying about the commonality of the swords back then, and I think the Messer is a great example of that. I mean, it was it's a big knife, right? And you can use it like a sword, and it just, you know, it becomes your weapon. And it was the commoner's weapon back then. And we have quotes like from Claude Hatton in 1555, where it says, "There's no mother's son at this time who did not carry a sword or dagger." You know, it was ubiquitous back then. You know, they had these weapons for protection, for peace, and it was a priority to use these things and to train with them. And that's pretty cool, because that means that they were pretty darn good with these things, and that lends a lot of credibility to the sources, I think. And yeah, it's neat seeing that come back alive. And I was actually kind of curious if we have time for just another question for Marcus. You mentioned you're into a lot of saber and stuff in the 19th century. Are there a lot of sources that you draw from?
Oh yeah, I personally I have the main source Christman, Theoretisch-praktische Anleitung, from 1838, but there are tons of saber manuals. Yeah, it's printing is cheap. The armies have time to write down instructions. There are fencing teachers, there are fencing academies. For example, Christman, who wrote this book, was at something like 3 or 4 universities, studying, giving lectures and stuff like that. Cool. We're just doing research on him to find out who he really was, where he lived, what he really did, and so on. But just from that point of view, a couple of friends in another club, they reconstruct the Berlin schools from that time, and there are something like 3-4 manuals just focusing on saber from a quite short time, like 3, 4, 5 years. So we have, yes, saber guys again are blessed. We have tons of material.
Sounds like a lot of fun. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Andrew, you had I saw you nodding when I was talking about training with both the left and the right hand. You know, where I'll switch it up. You know, I might have my hands here, and then I'll just switch up and do everything in reverse. You like to train that way as well?
Yeah, I'm actually left-handed, so
okay.
You know, when we do certain techniques and stuff, it's easier for people to learn when I just switch into right hand and I train both sides, and I think that's also, if I remember correctly, that's a common phrase, I think, in Joachim Meyer, where he says it works on both sides, and this works on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just become more familiar with the blade, and who knows, you might actually find yourself forced into a situation where you might have to rely on your left hand if you're right-handed, or your you know, it's amazing how the manuals do cover a lot of these questions and things that spring up that we think about, because you know, we are the descendants of these masters and people that fought and died with the sword, so we you know, think the same way, obviously, and so that's good. That's good. Yeah, Fabrice, anything that you want to mention?
You don't want to let me talk, actually.
It's wide open, my friend.
No, it's well, I'm very happy to be here. I'm sorry for joining late, but I was a bit hangover for me today.
Well, that's quite alright.
Yeah, no, but that's a good thing, because I don't think anybody in the HEMA community has seen me without a hangover. So I appear to the world. I appear normal today, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So many things, so many very interesting things have been said so far. Would now add to that. Marcus said it right well. Join your local club. If there's no local club, create it.
Yeah.
Pick up the sword. It's part of your heritage. You know, the sword has been part of the world of Europe, but not just Europe. As a European, I can only speak of that. The sword has been part of our societies for, you know, before time. You know, and it's only very late that we forgot it. You know, that we let it go, and it's now it's our time to, well, as you say, to claim it, the sword and what it means, and also maybe to give it a new meaning. People are training for tournaments. It's part of what you can do, but also just make the sword part of your life. It's really as it used to be, you know. Of course, I'm not saying, you know, go wander in the street with a sword at your belt. It's not what I'm saying, you know, and it's probably forbidden in your local thingy, state, place, whatever. Time might change, I don't know. But it's well, you know, I have kids, you know. I have a little boy who's 7 years old, and boys and also girls. The first thing they do when they pick up a stick is play with them sticks as if they were swords, you know. It's not part of our genes, you know. There's no biology behind it, but it's this special chemistry, this supernatural connection that we have with the sword that makes it very, very special. Okay, so it's yeah. I don't think my life. I'm speaking very personal things there, but I believe my friends over here think or feel the same. I don't think our life could be the same without the sword. It's natural, you know. I'm not saying the sword is as natural to us as, you know, is breathing air or as is the sun or as is drinking large amounts of alcohol, but that's my life. But it's well, it's here. It's been here for us to pick up, and we did, and I'm happy I did that. I'm happy others did the same, and I'm happy we, like Marcus and I, we managed to meet every now and then and to hit each other and to make friends. Yeah, hitting each other. I mean, like you say, dude, the best friends I have now are people that try to beat me on a regular basis, or not trying. They try to beat me, but they have a long way trying, you know, and succeeding. I'm kidding. I'm being bad with them now. Actually, that's right. They managed to beat me. See this bruise here? You can't see it. Well, it was from yesterday's training. I'm loving the pain I'm having right now on my arm, because that's part of what the sword is, part of life, part of training with friends and trying to. That's one thing you said earlier about other sports, you know. Most of the sport, we don't do sports, we do martial arts. We train to become proficient with not just the sword, but proficient. We're trying to be good fighters, basically. For no reason, for no other purpose than saying, I can fight. I know how to use a sword, I know how to use a poleaxe, I know how to use a dagger, I know how to use my hands, I know how to wrestle, you know. In other physical activities, there are this idea of winning, you know, of being better than the others. And what I like, what I really enjoy, and what is really, really fantastic in this renewal of these arts that we are living now, is that I'm not training to be better than the others. I'm training to help them be better. And the better they are, the better I can be, trying to beat them. But enough with that. Like I said, we could speak for hours about that, for hours about what the sword is now, what martial arts, historical martial arts are now, and how we do it, and what it used to be and what we wanted to become. I could speak for hours about the sword in history, in medieval or Renaissance or later Europe. It just shows how important the sword is. The sword is not trivial. And I'm really happy, honestly, I'm really, really happy that you guys made this first film, and I really wish you the best for the second film. If I had any money, I would give it to you.
Well, every just spreading the word on the film is fantastic. That's the best thing that we can do. It's more important than donations, really, just spreading the word about it. So. And, you know, we've just scratched the surface again. So, you know, it'd be great to kind of maybe pick a topic for one of these sword shows, and then we could really kind of go down the rabbit hole or, you know, see where the journey takes us on a specific subject, because as you alluded to, Fabrice, we've only scratched the surface again. But just a wonderful group of brothers in arms here. Any last final words from anyone at all?
We probably just mentioned that the next Sword Talk is coming up July 31st at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So tune into that if you enjoyed this one. I'm sure that one's going to be great too. We got a bunch of other very interesting guests.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. Yeah, and I just want to thank everybody for coming in here. This one was kind of put together at the last minute, and I wasn't sure I was going to be the one hosting, so forgive me if I seemed a bit unprepared, but in any case, I think we did pretty good. Again, we've only scratched the surface, though, so I'm interested in everyone's feedback, not only the people here on the panel, that were generous enough to join us, but really anybody out there listening. I know we had a lot of people tuning in on the last one, so just let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about or recommend guests or anything of that nature. You can email PR, as in public relations, at Galatia-Films.com, and that's GALATIA Films with an S.com. So PR at Galatia-Films.com, and we can get your feedback that way. And I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast with that. Again, appreciate all the guests. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. And just stick around for a minute while what happens is Google pretty much turns off the live broadcast and then it uploads it right away. So if you could just hang out for a few bits while we wrap it up.